предпринимательству, и открывает ее Дмитрий Dubograev, Femida US. Он нам расскажет про конька-горбунка.
He'll talk about a humpbacked horse. Thank you very much for the invitation. I will get the bull by the horns. So, does an IT guy want to become rich? So, why among Russian companies so very few successful success stories? Very few success stories. Because the humpback horse is a sacred animal. I decided not to touch him. I'll talk about the rhinoceros. So let's talk about the criteria that have to do with different types of factors besides business that we have become witnesses of. So those who don't know us, we represent interests for more than 300 projects in the United States. So 2/3 are Russian-speaking projects, and we focus on IT. So we'll talk about this. So empirical and technology approaches and our empirical experience and how we work. Does a Russian IT guy want to be rich? Why there are no unicorns among Russians? So unicorns are that cost billions, worth billions of dollars. Because startup was a Facebook, and at the top, so small companies that cost only billions. So it's a cheap little companies, only 1 billion. Worth only 1 billion. So why are we behind? Because we have good creativity is there, discipline is there, brains are there, everything is there, but we can't get rich. Why? So let's start and explain why. In order to generate value, we need to collect it all in one pot. So founders of the projects originally, so they squander what they have. They squander. So be very careful. At life science, term sheets, NDA, shareholder agreement, etc. At the same time, you need to be very accurate to potential partners and investors as well. So very often, so that's they kind of like this phrase very much. They like to say this phrase. Startuppers they came up to me and said, Dmitri, so then our partners they treated us very badly, and so because we agreed, and he did it the way the contract said, horrible. So they mistreated us. So in Russia, so they felt that so they get shafted, because in America, if they have a chance to steal, they will. That is why everything should be reflected in the contract, and so that's why. So there's because they have legal responsibility to their shareholders, and the latter prevails. So, and if it's not signed, change your behavior. Don't show what where your sensitivity to your project is. So what in Russian projects, what we don't have, and people don't have a concept. It's a chain of title. So it's a chain of title, right? So who owns it? So that's any component. So should be reflected. Every move should be who created what, who gave it to whom, and who created this value, who invented this. And sometimes at later stages, so the investor comes, so who wrote this program? Who developed it? You did it, and he gave it to someone, he transferred to someone. So they start retroactively figure out just who owns what. So they form the company where the rules are respected, where the law is. So if you think that in Russia, so the IP rules are IP is protected, and no problem. So this spot should be in the place where your clients are, and where the rules and where the rule of law is, and where your rights are protected. So if you own IP, intellectual property, so it's a corporate law, it provides a certain environment of your IP, where your IP lives. It's Russian psychology. So Russian psychology. So the law is always so can be treated fast and loose, interpreted fast and loose. But so the law can be behind, supporting you or just against you, the way you look at it. And so if you start working within the law, so just get the law on your side, even if you miss something. So then this new law, this law will save you if you are within the law. So because the law will save you even if you do something wrong or miss something. The same is there's fungible. Fungible, it's kind of is something that you can touch your property. So any business, why should I need all this chain of title paper? I'm not going to sell it. So don't forget that. So maybe you don't want to sell it now, but maybe in 10 years' time the situation will change, and thus you may die. So we need to will it to our kids, whatever that's. And that is why. So then we need to create not a program, but you need to create value of your business. You need to become your business. If you buy a house, so the house has a value, right? And at the same time, it's the same with business. If you develop a program and you take it outside your country, but it's not the program that you go. You come with business, not the program. That's the only way to scale, sell or finance, or sell. To have a chance to sell your business doesn't mean that you have to sell it, but an ability to sell. Then your partners. So when you sign an agreement with your partners and send so investment agreement, a shareholder agreement, and so this agreement sometimes they miss very important points regarding IP. IP is very important. So what happens to IP when you finance the company, when you sell the company? If the company sells big licenses, you have a company with three founders, and so one of the founders owns IP, and and so then we need to make sure that the IP that got into the company should not be squandered, and then the shareholders can decide then issues regarding big contracts. And who has so big licenses, big contracts? CEO decides. Okay, so then bigger contracts, board of directors. So then sometimes then CEO decides to sell to America, to sell exclusive IP, a license for 10 years. So then there are certain points that need to be taken up to the partners level. Then exclusive license. It's almost sale. It's almost a sale. So sometimes as you go outside to unknown markets, will give us an exclusive license. But what if not? What if not? So then what if not? And then all of a sudden, so this exclusive license, and the distributor worked for a couple of years, and then so it doesn't pull his weight. So then you need just to be able to to secede from the agreement and to terminate the agreement. And so then market performance, key performance indicators, whatever. Then acquisition of IP. So you can get this chain of title, or you can hire people to do that. Or just you can buy just a lock, stock, and barrel, right? Just to buy the company. Buyback, for example. So it happens you sold IP, but what if it doesn't fly? So then the guy who sold IP inside your pot may have the right to buy back. Then reverse vesting and options. So then it's most motivation of founders and employees. So if a person deserves certain things, so there's reverse vesting. So in one of our companies, so we hired an American CEO, and so then they have some IP, but not much. But his performance. So we gave him some shares, right? And let's say 5% of the stock in 4 years. The idea that if he can't perform, or he is hired, so then if he works 365 days, we can buy back all 5% at 1 cent. But if he works 366 days, so we can buy back only, so he got 25%, and the rest we can buy at 1 cent. So 2 years, so then it's 2 and 50, for example. And that's how it goes. Then non-compete, non-circumvention. So very important too. So what is trade secrets? In different legislations, they're interpreted differently. And the trade secret is something that other people don't know, but for you it has a commercial meaning. For example, Coca-Cola recipe, right? And patented, no copyrights, nothing. So then it's almost a patent or an invention, or you slept for 365 years and then 365 days, and then it's too late just to submit documents for a patent. So if there's no registration, no public access, but you give it to someone and then you sign NDA, it's a trade secret. So trade secrets can be copied. You can do reverse engineering. You can clone them. So, but the law prohibits illegal methods. You cannot steal and say, oh, it's not protected. So this trade secret is protected by the law in the following way. So the methods of protecting trade secrets. Let me show you. Okay. So don't show. The only way to protect trade secrets, don't show them. There's only one method. Don't show your trade secrets, or under NDA, non-disclosure agreement. If you want just to protect your IP, so then what is a copyright? Copyrights it appears for a code, for any text, picture, design, website, anything. It has three components. Main fact: original, not copied, fixed. It should be fixed, meaning so in any audio, video form. In Russian law, they debated that copyright couldn't be even voiced, but it is lost once the voice when a person shuts up. So this from the viewpoint of Western law, it's crazy. So it should be always fixed, and somehow should be reflected. So then when you register your copyrights, you do the registration, because using copyright it's very easy to prove that it's yours. You go outside your country, you register. If you have ill faith competitor, so then a bad guy just quit on your job, and so then and then so then every person thinks that's to lie to the state is a sacred right of every resident. So that's why they don't. We need distribution. So matching and proving ownership is easy, and so then so registration of copyright is very good, because for example, if you write Google Play, or if you develop a web store, and then you say so we registered copyright, so now Apple is going to become a so-called criminal, and then they remove copyrights from you. It's very just to prove damage as well, because if you have registration of your copyright, you can always ask through court up to $150,000 per violation in favor of the defendant, not the state. Of the claimant, claimant. So, for example, there's a 22-year-old girl just uploaded, and so then she can find. And so some lawyers are more expensive than others, but the attorney costs are high, and you can always, if you have copyright registration registered, so you can always get back your attorney fees, and it doesn't. So if your copyright is registered in England, it's somewhere. And then federal court, you can file a lawsuit in federal court. If your copyright not registered, so the person can leave and work for the competitor if it's not registered. Trademark, better to register. Unfortunately, a trademark, it's a geographic notion. Because copyright is once for the whole world. War and Peace, you wrote, and then you registered once, and it will be good for the whole world. But trademarks, in every jurisdiction, you have to register separately. And different, so first to use, first to register, priority, trademarks. And then you get exclusive use on territory. And it's much easier to take down with App Store, Google Play, and to fight your competition. Easier to prove damages and to get damages, and if you prove damages, and so if you registered it, and so then it goes in your hands as such treble damages. So for example, if you proved in court 1 million in damages, so you get 3 million damages, triple. And it's a good weapon for both as a bona fide businessman and ill faith businessman. It's a double-edged sword, so you can get back attorney's fees. IP industry with trademarks problems. Cyber scooters, to buy cyber squatters to buy someone else's domains, and trademarks, mistakes and failures. Then especially China is doing very well there. If you're looking for domains, not only it's .cn, but it's on registration as well of domains in the United States or in China. And then according to the Madrid protocol, so they start protecting. And then just to go back on this registration is very difficult. So there have been cases when someone. So in just half an hour after the search was done, so they started to domain and then PTO search. It was done in half an hour. It turned out that someone filed in another country, and they learned in the Madrid in the Madrid agreement only a year and a half later, and it was too late. Then descriptive or generic, TM. So they're bad for business and legal rights. So you can sell. So you cannot sell beer calling it good beer. So you cannot say we were doing B2B cloud super backup app or good ceramic. So it's all descriptive. It's not specific. So you need avoid using the words that have double meanings. So like swear words, four-letter words. And then about the clients, that's like about the dead. So either you don't say anything or say only good things about them. So when I was coming here, I went through the customs, and I saw this sign. Someone translated this. When I went through the customs, I took my passport. So who translated this? And the guy said, "What's wrong?" So it was written bad. So because you're sucking that, you're going just to kiss diplomats out of turn. And since I was not a diplomat, so make out and made out. So this is the so very good. So it happens at airports from Belarus. So the first thing you see when you come out. So then toilet women, toilet women, toilet men, because at first comes the adjective before the noun. So women toilet, men toilet, and not toilet women. And so then we need to do some proofreading of your IP, of your trademark, because sometimes it's just horrible, it's so funny. So the makes are egregious, horrible, and it's just sad story. So it should be either fanciful, so just all our accents are just some made up words, arbitrary. Arbitrary is so any words that exist, but they have nothing to do with your project. So for example, if you say apple, and apples, so that's descriptive. But if you say apple, it will be just arbitrary, so suggestive. So that an apple fell on one's head. There's suggestive, invisible, CRM, Pinkster, WhoHub, 3.6, Nero for CD-ROM. This is suggestive. It must be. Best is fanciful or best. This is the best. To present a good name, you know that Time Era project, Playrix. So they're good. So then in non-existent words, so one of our clients, so that's the best approach. That's how the Tamos soft. So then so they did a mapping application. They decided so Tomosoft instead of tomography. So whatever. So anyway, so the company is Tamasoft, the name of the company, and instead of making it tomography, they did tomography. So with the mistake. So this is just so it's certainly it's a mistake, but at the same time we could register this Wi-Fi map because of one word change. So you can read our article. A small IT grubbly, so understand why it's called that way. And so there's this certain how to choose the name for your product. Patents. Patents in our industry, so we don't need it or don't need them, it's not clear. But we have, if you can patent, if you can do that, especially if it's unique. In Europe, they say, so we're not going to patent software. But no, they don't patent the patent invention. They don't patent software. But the engineers think that so when you patent, it's kind of if it's a will. To patent, you have to invent a will to patent. All you have to do is just improvement of your combination of products, improvement of your product. So just Microsoft 10,000 patents a year submits for patenting, even more than that. Certainly, it's not 10,000 wheels. It's as for you to understand. So, what kind of patents are submitted? I can give you an example. Look. So, patent whenever you can. Patent is what are they used for? It's a value. It's value, right? So then, startups was sold only one patent for $800,000. It was a patent, so that went through the registration, sold, and everything. So we used it as a sword, and okay, you can use it as a shield. And you can always submit to file in court ITC, International Trade Commission, of course, file a suit. So, for example, to prevent others from using your technology or from damages, and then what's important, and M&A transactions. So, for example, with there's 15 transactions a year, they say, "You do have a patent?" Yes, we do have a patent. Yeah, right. So they don't know, but you see that that patent is a certain factor of the value of the company. And then until the cancellation of your patent, if there is a competition, so you can protect yourself because you cannot be attacked, because before you're attacked you need to cancel your patent. That's very important. What kind of patents exist? For example, so the whole patent is a head, so in which you can put two beer cans, right, and drink beer so during a soccer match. So it was considered an invention. So for example, this thing is just to scare the flies away. So they eat chicken legs and this thing just turns out. It's a patent, yeah. All right, and those who are using skateboards, so plastic pants. So not to bruise your butt, this is it. So it looks very attractive. And so that's it, it's patented. So, or a cat, for example. I don't understand what is a surreal cat. It's so swinging around. It's 1915 patented. And so this wonderful patent. So the whole point of this chart, that if your programming engineer made a good development, so this candy comes out. So if you did it well, candy comes out. If you did it not well, so then the candy doesn't come out. That's it. So it's all patent. So you can patent anything. Dana was saying about customers and users. Effectively, besides there's four types of properties. So another property is the user's property as well. So privacy, true disclosure. When you buy, when the customer buys a program from you, he gives you his data, his personal data. So we need to know that that you own this customer. Make sure you actually own the customer. Is this 80-20 Pareto rule. You remember that. So to sell the to the existing clients, much easier to sell than to look for other clients. And if you sold someone, it's your client. So make sure you own this client, because there's PII. So the personal identifiable information. So there just exists. So either IP address is a PII or not, or just kind of face recognition. So face, is it a PII or not? Personal identifiable information, or email, or cell phone, it's a number. So be careful. And then can you spam your customers or not? If you can, then every customer costs a lot, so a few cents. But if it's and then can you sell the customers with the sale of company, the list of customers with your company? That's another issue that comes up all the time. A big issue is as the EU directives referring privacy, because I represent American companies, but when the Russian goes to Europe through an American company, and so then it goes like this. So European legislators much stricter to privacy policy in terms of use, and so there's a little example. So if you deploy something, and then all of a sudden you make a white label or whatever. In America, you can put a tick, and if the customer does not want you to install it, so they don't have toolbars, for example, the customer can remove this toolbar and then press next or yes. And so this practice is legal in America, but illegal in Europe. In Europe, so this box should be empty, and the buyer does not want to buy it, then he needs to tick this box. So that's why it is very much stricter. So you need to tick everything. That data mining. If you go to any platform, Facebook, social networks, LinkedIn, you will see that they forbid to do data mining, and so therefore for your own personal purposes you can do that. But if you do automation and analytics, and if you take it one step further, then it's not legal. And Facebook, for example, once you become big, so they will. So be careful, because it might play against you. And then psychology-wise, so American projects, unicorns, they look like this. So like this ball. So fail, and then bang, and then win. And Russian startups like this, win, fail. Yeah. So in all fairy tales. So if you go this way, you get killed. If you go right, so your horse will die. And so you need just to roll with the punches. You need just, if you fail once, get up and then go again. So then if the horse died, you get off the fucking horse. So then and go and look for another one. And that is why. So then sometimes, so money. What about money? So try to not to sell your IP until the last possible moment, and that's licensing, terms of use, terms of service, SaaS. So all these, they're all licenses, OEMs, rebrand, co-brand, and there's all the projects that now get going. So the most successful, those who do white label and revenue share, they're most successful. But be careful that you should not give away too much. There was an instance, one of the projects. So we agreed about the revenue share 50-50, and then the last moment, our partner so puts in another page and says that the maximum amount no more than $300,000 a month. So that was not the agreement, but then we like the figure. But at the same time, we removed the threshold. Then KPIs, performances, milestones, it's okay. So put them in, especially if you work with a partner, and if something goes wrong, at least you could exit it. And so because my famous expression is, so in the box, the best is skis. Yeah, so for the bad performance, you can always just kick.
And please negotiate. If you work with large vendors, small vendors, medium vendors, work with a lawyer. And it's a good thing if you demand something on a legal basis. And apart from price, address risks, because sometimes there are some risks that you are not aware of that do not depend on you. Sometimes people work with a code, but their partner offered the code. Well, anyway, and sell the whole thing at once. It works like that as an asset or as a company stock sale. At this point, we can conclude our presentation. And of course, in Russian project, of course, is a problem when many things people try to do in-house. Which makes a Russian person different from anybody else. But sometimes we have already business models and you don't have to reinvent the wheel. And the essence of M&A transaction looks like this. This is a pre-revolutionary thing, picture that we are partners, so you are engaged. You are engaged. You accumulate intellectual service, and this is the divorced person. I think you will feel the same way, not in your personal life, but in the business life at least, with your intellectual property. Thanks, Dmitri, thanks. Just no more than 2 or 3 questions, then you can continue talking during the coffee break. Have you got any questions, please? It's a variation of AVM. We have a platform, so we have a content, so they can outsource and develop their own product. Our product is already working, and it's working well. So please, they come to us. We give them platform powered by. And we try to insert powered by, and the application as a publisher is sold. No, you didn't get me, I think. Well, yes. White label Pentium inside the computer. White label Pentium inside the PC. Same in software. It's an engine, a platform, or some unique technologies which are integrated with something else. The project, well, we can have a shop, not a virtual shop, but a real physical shop, and they have a good content. They are present in web. We have a platform, a good application platform that we provide. They download it, and well, they can, of course, develop it on their own, or they can take our own platform, and then a white label is good, but that you can sell it again and again. One of the customers made a mistake. A large medical institution came to him and said, we need our database of our customers. They take an outsourcing agreement, sign it. Why outsourcing? You develop something for a hospital, and the hospital owns IP. The hospital will never sell that software, and but if you have an outsourcing, so you gave it away. Do not give away IP to the hospital. It will not resell it. So think about giving away or leasing. So hospital says, we shall pay you 500,000. We said, no, 400,000, but it will not be yours. We shall sell you a license. Okay, license or no license. So it's just a comment. My experience of patents, I went from Russian to some other country and faced the following. So we wrote a few patents, applied to the US Patent Agency, but according to the Russian legislation, I was a Russian citizen and I had to send it first to the Russian patent agency, and on their permission only I could give it to the US patent agency. I couldn't circumvent Russian legislation. So how can we avoid such system? If I don't emigrate forever, if I go away just for 3 months, how to circumvent Russian legislation? Well, I have to go back to 1917. It's a problem. Such problems emerge in all kind of legislations. Underdevelopment of Russian legislation is not our fault. We use obsolete laws. We started developing it 20 years ago. And of course, an American company sends in a request for purchase or request for development, and then that American company will become the legal entity that sends your patent request. There is a collision of two legislations. You have an agreement with Microsoft, with Oracle. We give you an assignment. If you invent something, so your invention belongs to us. You are not an inventor because you just fulfill a task, and you made an invention in accordance with the task, with accordance with company requirements. So yes, there is a problem, you know, but in order to adopt a new section of our tax code, we worked for 9 years, and still there are a lot of errors. One last question before the coffee break. It's a question about a new legal entity in the US. If partners open a legal entity in the US, many go to the state of Delaware. Others believe that you have to open in the state where your customers work. How can we better choose the place, the location? Yes, I love the state of Delaware. The problem with Delaware is only one, because in Russia it is considered an offshore, and if you start working from Delaware to Russia, it's very difficult to work with Russia, Belarus, and Ukraine. If you don't deal with Russia, Belarus, and Ukraine, go from Delaware. But if you do work with those three countries, go to some other countries. Moreover, Delaware is good, and there are also a number of codes that are even better than Delaware. But people are used to Delaware. And sometimes people ask me, why are you not in Delaware? But what's the difference? Please never register in New York, California, and New Jersey. Why? Because there are a lot of technical questions. Two main ones. The Delaware principle is as such: if you are born in Delaware, so you got your birth certificate and for your company, and you do not pay tax there. But in California, if you are born in California, if you go to the moon and if you never stepped on California soil, then you have to pay taxes to California. Google registered in Delaware, and then he moved to California. So the birth of the company, its registration, must be done in Delaware. And then you pay taxes on a different basis, on the basis of where the company is born, where your office is situated. Delaware is very small, so the territory is very small. So it's very easy to open. Taxes are high, rather high, but we are across the river from Washington in the state of Virginia. It's the second after California by the number of transactions. If you look at if the internet, half of the world's internet pass through Virginia, all Amazon servers, all online American online servers, quite friendly for business. Yesterday, in our blog, we wrote about the Dallas Technological Corridor. It's the richest place in the US per capita, second after the Silicon Valley. So if you watch carefully, then don't register in California, in New Jersey, New York, and Illinois. No, never. Texas, good. Nevada, good. Virginia, good. North Carolina, good. And there is a great difference in protectionism and various kind of socialist things in California. There was an article that directors of public companies must keep lists of minorities, gays, and others who must work for your companies and who are candidates for your board of directors. If you take any of the chairs, you will see that the state of California is known that this chair may explode if a bomb is... So everything is highly regulated. So it's very difficult to answer your question quickly. So the difference is great, really. And finally, in Delaware, you pay by the number of shares, and the maximum is $350,000 a year. So people say, oh, we are in Delaware, we publish 1 million shares. Oh, but you will have to pay. So in Virginia, 2,900. It's the maximum, it's the ceiling. Be careful. Please be careful. Otherwise, you will waste a lot of your money. Thank you. Thank you. If you have any questions,